And you talked about personalization being very important to you, understanding kind of what customers are interested in and how you can respond to them in kind. What are the challenges and opportunities you see for personalization? There's lots of challenges right now with cookies going away and Facebook and Google fighting and what have you. What do you see as the kind of the challenges or even the opportunities when it comes to personalization?
I mean, I think I'll answer two ways. One is, personalization requires a huge technological lift. We're in the midst of a digital transformation that's going to help us get better at that. But it really starts with segmentation. So when you take those roughly 70 million automotive enthusiasts, they're not all the same, right? So we are segmenting our approach in the way we look at it. So there are, there are many, you can break this down even further, but there are by and large roughly 5 or 6 segments across the automotive enthusiast space. You've got kind of classic sports car collecting, you've got supercars and exotics, you've got motorsports, very different needs. A lot of these cars aren't driven on the street, right? So actually we're not insuring them, we're insuring their track days, for instance. We need to provide them transportation services, so they need to transport them on trailers to the tracks. Hot rods, modified cars, these are very different, people who are really into modifying, changing the cosmetic look of a car, or sometimes the performance of a car. So breaking it into these segments, and high net worth is one of those segments, is how we have different go-to-market strategies for those different segments. And then the tonality, all the way down to the tonality and the visuals that you pick. You can't be talking to high net worth customers and be putting a modified car, a 32 Ford kind of hot rod in front of them. They want to be seeing, beautiful Ferraris and things. So the image that's important, the way you talk to them, the language is very different. So as we feed, even down to the emails we send, understanding, we're able to look at what content people consume on our site. So if you're consuming motorsports content, then you're going to start getting personalized messages more around motorsport. If you are attending one of our Cars and Coffee that might be around a hot rod event, then we capture that data and we're able to personalize some of the content that goes to you. So it's a constant improvement of capturing the information we know about people. One of the great things about us is we have a ton of data because we insure most of our members' cars. So we know where they live, we know how many cars they have, we know the value of those cars. So we can customize and personalize a lot of the communication to them based on the knowledge that we have.
One of the things that this digital transformation and the introduction of the loyalty program infrastructure has enabled is for us to act on personalization, right? And so the biggest opportunity for us as we think about it is, how do we deliver value in every guest interaction? And that, speaks beyond just technology, right? Our team members are personalizing the experience inside of the store when they bring up, your items, and have them on the counter ready to go for you because you come in every day at the same time. They don't need a loyalty program or any sort of technology to tell that, right? That's just what they know and experience because they know their regulars inside of the store. But as we then sort of take that great experience, person to person, and say, how do we use technology to scale that? How do we use the data that our guests are giving us and sharing with us with an expectation that it's going to turn into, programs, offers, promotions that are personalized to them? That's sort of then our key opportunity inside of there. And so I think it's something that, we dig in regularly about, how do we deliver on that? How do we show guests, how familiar they are to us, and use sort of the technology, the platform underneath to even anticipate, what it is that they're going to need, or make recommendations that we know that they're going to love. That's sort of at the heart of, how personalization then comes to life in the context of our program and how we do business.
There are a couple big things on the forefront. There are the cookies issues, Apple making updates to the iPhone that will challenge getting data from one source. What we've seen over the past decades of being in the e-commerce world, the data always finds a way. There will always be find a way to find that data, to connect that information. ultimately it is the ecosystem which thrives in that marketing and personalization across e-commerce. So I'm confident that we will find unique solutions. Maybe different aspects of customer identity will be cloaked here or available here, but we have to just stay at the forefront of it, adapting to whatever changes may come. As I said earlier, the amount of data I think is going to continue to grow exponentially. We're going to know more and more about what every click a customer takes, but now maybe every millisecond of what they're doing between those clicks. As this data grows, it is just data. Converting that data into meaningful insights, converting that data into changing the customer experience, it is above all the Herculean feat in front of us. That's the challenge. We will find data. We'll find a lot of data. Making it meaningful will be really difficult. And it's exciting because there are amazing scientists far smarter than I who are developing technology in the ML AI world that is sculpting that. On the other side of it is what I would consider the customer perception of personalization. It's the things shared on social media. It's the negative spin about it. Ultimately, if what people want is an authentic experience with a brand, where they're talking to them like a human being, where they're offering them what they're interested in, not offering them what they're not interested in, that is personalization. It is what they want. We have to avoid the personalization that crosses the line into information that shouldn't be shared and isn't relevant to that experience. And brands need to be very careful about developing a relationship that the customer wants with the personalization, not avoiding personalization because they read someone was upset about it, but really building the most authentic and pure personalization that makes it as close to human as possible. It is the second biggest challenge.
Opportunity for personalization is virtually everywhere. It's difficult to think of some part of the shopping journey that couldn't be improved with some level of personalization, even if the customer doesn't know that that's happening behind the scenes. So we do think there's a big opportunity within just the basics of letting people know what deals we have, what offers we have, but also recipes and meal solutions. The challenge, as you said, is to get that done at scale, with speed, with limited human intervention. And that really comes down to aligning yourself with the right partners and having the right database and architecture set up. So Algonomy is going to be an important partner for us on a lot of those elements. The changes in technology from even 5 years ago are so dramatic that what's possible is something that you couldn't even have imagined 10 years ago, and 5 years ago you might have dreamed you could do it, but you couldn't figure out how to do it at our size and scale. And I think now we can over the next couple of years.
Well, I think that there's a really fine line in personalization between knowing your customers and then getting a little bit too creepy. We definitely don't want people to know how often we know that they eat at Fuzzy's Tacos. We don't want them to know, like, hey, we see that you always order a side of black beans. Like, that's a little bit too much for us. So we definitely try to do it to where it's like, hey, we haven't seen them in a few weeks and they normally come in twice a month. Let's give them a free chips and queso. And it's more, it's we know what they will like without freaking them out to where they get too uncomfortable. And I think that's a lot of things that people are seeing, especially with digital marketing and all the cookies and things that can follow you on the internet. We've all had a conversation about something and been served an ad and we're like, who's listening to me? So I think personalization is still that little gray area of how personalized do you want to get without freaking people out.